The first crack didn't come with a scream or a shattered plate. It came with a laugh. A laugh from my boss, Mr. Carter Jennings, while he sipped his black coffee 3 feet from my cubicle. A laugh so guttural, so filthy, that it gnawed at my ribs before I even understood why. "You should have heard her," Carter boasted to Mike from accounting, slapping his thigh like he'd just scored the winning touchdown. She was screaming my name in the bathroom upstairs, loud enough to shake the damn pipes. I froze, pinned halfway through a report, breath stuck somewhere between my heart and my throat. I wasn't supposed to hear that. I wasn't supposed to be there at all. Carter thought I was still in the conference room. But I was there, sitting, listening, dying. My wife's name, Brittany, dangled from his tongue like a spoiled piece of candy he didn't want anymore. And I sat there, a ghost in a chair, while my boss, a man I shook hands with every morning, laughed about bending my wife over a sink like she was some Friday night cheap date. I stared at the monitor, trying to breathe, trying to not imagine Brittany's lips whispering Carter's name, her nails scraping those filthy bathroom tiles, her legs wrapped around a man who wasn't me. But once you hear something like that, you can't unhear it. Once you imagine it, it carves itself into your skull. Minutes later, like a scene from a cheap, cruel movie, Carter swaggered by my desk. Brittany beside him, smirking, hair perfect, makeup flawless, her fake laugh curving the air like a dagger. She didn't even flinch when our eyes met, not even a flicker of guilt, just a tilt of her head, like I was some dog waiting for scraps. Then came the words, the knife twist. "Sign the divorce papers, Nathan," Carter said with a cold smile, "or I'll destroy your life, take your kids, and you'll move back to your mommy and daddy's house like a little boy." Brittany just nodded, a mocking glint in her eye, like she couldn't wait to watch me fall apart. I signed. I didn't even argue. I didn't even speak. I just signed, numb and broken and burning from the inside out. But that night, while they celebrated, probably dirtying another bathroom stall, I planned my revenge. The kind of revenge that doesn't involve screaming or gunshots. The kind that waits. The kind that smiles. The kind that makes the earth tremble without making a sound. It began at 2:43 a.m. The first wave, Brittany's bank accounts frozen. The second wave, Carter's wife, yes, he was married to, receiving a little anonymous package with very incriminating photos. The third wave, a little tip-off to HR about Carter's inappropriate workplace relations, complete with timestamps and security footage pulled by a very helpful IT friend of mine. And by dawn, the world Brittany and Carter built on lies was a smoldering, twitching wreck. At 7:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. 132 missed calls. All from my son, Aiden. Begging, crying, screaming for help. Because Brittany had been thrown out of the house. Because Carter had been arrested for fraud and misconduct. Because everything they thought they stole from me was now drowning them. And I was just getting started. After the first wave of destruction, you'd think I'd feel satisfied. I didn't. The silence in my apartment that night was louder than any explosion. I sat there, staring at my phone lighting up with Aiden's missed calls, while memories I didn't ask for ripped through me like knives. Brittany's fake smiles. Her late-night work meetings. The sudden perfume I didn't recognize on her clothes. The lingering taste of someone else's lies on her lips when she kissed me goodnight. I should have seen it. God, I should have seen it. But love makes you blind in the worst ways. It makes you want to believe the impossible, even when it's slapping you across the face. I got up around 4 a.m., restless, heart still pounding from the chaos I'd unleashed. I opened the drawer where Brittany used to keep her letters, her little notes she wrote, only for me. The drawer I hadn't touched since she started coming home late. There it was. A pink envelope, sealed but sloppily shoved into the back. Almost like she wanted it hidden, but not too well. I hesitated. My hands shook like they didn't belong to me anymore. Then I ripped it open. Inside wasn't a love letter. It was a list. A list of dates, names, places, restaurants, hotels, and next to each entry, a little heart, or a little X. I recognized some of the names. Coworkers, friends, even a goddamn neighbor. A neighbor who smiled and waved at me while mowing his lawn every Sunday. She had a system, a full, organized double life. And the bathroom stall with Carter? That was just the cherry on a pile of filth stretching back for months. Maybe longer. I dropped the list like it burned my skin. I stumbled back, breathing hard, gripping the edge of the table like it would keep me from falling into some black, endless pit. It wasn't just betrayal. It was betrayal designed to humiliate me. to rip me apart piece by piece while she kept smiling at my face. I staggered into the bathroom, the same bathroom where she'd kissed me the night she came home late from work. The mirror caught my reflection. I didn't even recognize the man staring back. Dead eyes. Sunken face. A hollow, pathetic ghost of the husband who thought love could fix anything. I punched the mirror. The glass spider-webbed, blood dripping from my knuckles like tiny rivers. I didn't feel the pain. I barely felt anything anymore. Except for one thing. Rage. Deep. Molten. All-consuming rage. Not just at Brittany. Not just at Carter. At myself. For trusting her. For believing her lies. For making excuses every time my gut screamed that something was wrong. I wrapped my hand in a towel, pressing down until the bleeding slowed. I wasn't going to bleed out in my bathroom. Not tonight. There was still more to do. I grabbed my laptop, opened an old account Brittany didn't know I had, and started piecing things together. Bank statements. Phone records. Messages she deleted but hadn't realized I could recover. Every click revealed another wound. Another betrayal. Another fake smile she'd fed me while thinking I was too stupid to notice. At 5:23 a.m., I found something that made my stomach turn cold. A video. Security footage from the building's third-floor bathroom. Timestamped 2 weeks ago. The night Brittany said she had dinner with the girls. I watched it. Watched my wife giggling like a teenager. Watched Carter push her against the bathroom sink. Watched her wrap herself around him, her skirt hitched up like some desperate groupie. Watched her throw her head back and scream his name so loud that the walls almost shook. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just sat there, silent, carving the image into my memory. Because if I was going to destroy them, really destroy them, I needed to remember every disgusting second. I didn't sleep. By the time the sun started bleeding through the blinds, I was already dressed. Not in work clothes. Not in anything that would pretend today was normal. Jeans. Black t-shirt. Boots. The kind of outfit you wear when you know something is about to burn, and you're not planning to save it. At 7 a.m. sharp, I heard the familiar sound of Brittany's keys in the door. The door opened with a casual creak, like the world wasn't shattering inside. She waltzed in with a coffee in one hand, her phone in the other, laughing at some text. Probably from Carter. Probably about me. I waited. She didn't even notice me at first, too busy tapping on her screen with those polished red nails I used to kiss. When she finally looked up, she froze. "Nathan," she said, faking a smile so poorly I almost laughed. "Morning," I said. My voice was cold, mechanical. She tilted her head like she always did when she was about to lie. "It used to work on me. Not today. Didn't expect you home," she chirped. "Big meeting." I stepped forward, letting the silence stretch until it cracked between us. "I know," I said simply. Her face didn't change. Not guilt. Not shock. Just annoyance. "Know what, babe?" she said, dragging out the word like it tasted rotten. I held up my phone. The video. The list. The messages. Her eyes flickered for a split second. Fear? Before she smothered it with a smirk. "Oh, that," she said, waving a hand like I'd brought up a parking ticket. "You're pathetic, Nathan. You always have been." The words hit like bullets, but I didn't flinch. "Not this time. You could have just been a man about it," she snapped, setting her coffee down with a sharp clink. "Instead of snooping around like some little bitch." My fists clenched at my sides. Not because of the insult, I was long past caring what she called me, but because of how casual she was. Like I was the villain. Like she was the victim. "How long?" I asked, voice low. She shrugged. "Does it matter?" "How long, Brittany?" She rolled her eyes. "Since before Aiden was born." The words didn't register at first. They just floated in the air, thick and poisonous. Before Aiden. Before the boy who called me dad and looked up at me with eyes full of trust. I stumbled back a step, like she'd physically struck me. "And Brittany?" Brittany laughed. A cruel, shallow laugh that echoed off the walls like nails on glass. "You think he's yours?" she sneered. My world tilted. "You think any of this life was real, Nathan? God, you're even dumber than I thought." I felt the rage clawing up my throat, begging to be let loose. But I swallowed it down. Because she wanted that. She wanted me to break, to scream, to beg. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I pulled a folder from the side table and dropped it in front of her. Divorce papers. Final. Brutal. Complete. "I'm not signing those," she said, flipping her hair like a bratty teenager. "You will," I said quietly. "Or you'll wish you had." She leaned closer, eyes glittering with malice. "And if I don't?" she hissed. I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I really smiled. Then you'll lose everything. I had the video, the list, the messages, the bank fraud she committed under Carter's nose, the evidence I'd gathered all night while she was too busy playing queen of the trash heap. She stared at me, reading something new in my eyes, something final, something that scared her. Good. For the first time, Brittany realized the rules had changed. I wasn't her doormat anymore. I was the storm she never saw coming. She grabbed the papers with shaking hands, and she signed, just like Carter said. But this time, it wasn't their victory. It was the beginning of their end. The door slammed behind her, and for a moment, the world stood still. I sat down on the couch, the same couch where Brittany used to curl up next to me, pretending to love me while dreaming of other men's hands. I stared at the empty space beside me and wondered if any of it, had ever been real. The walls felt too close, the air too thick. The silence pressed against my ribs until I thought I'd suffocate. The list she left behind lay on the coffee table. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I already knew every scar it held. I buried my face in my hands, trying to stop the flood that was coming, but it was too late. The dam broke. Tears I didn't want. Tears I hated myself for. Tears that burned my skin with every drop. I wasn't crying for her. Not anymore. I was crying for every lie I believed. For every time I told myself she loved me when deep down, some part of me knew better. I cried for Aiden, my son, my boy who might not even be mine by blood, but who was mine in every way that mattered. I cried because I didn't know what would happen to him now, trapped between a mother who saw him as leverage and a father who wasn't even sure he had the right to call himself that anymore. I punched the wall. Once. Twice. The drywall cracked, flaking white powder onto the floor like ash. It wasn't enough. Nothing was enough to burn out the sickness growing inside me. The betrayal wasn't just a cut. It was a poison. A slow, crawling infection that turned every memory, every smile, every kiss into something rotten. I thought about the first time I met Brittany. Her laugh. Her stupid little dimple when she smiled. I thought about the night I proposed to her, how she cried, said she'd never been so sure about anything in her life. She probably laughed about that lie with Carter later. I thought about Aiden's birth. How she squeezed my hand so hard I thought it would snap. How she said, "We did it, Nathan. We made something beautiful." I thought about all the nights I stayed up with him when he was sick, all the bedtime stories, the soccer games, the scraped knees, the whispered, "I love you, Dad," when he thought I was asleep. None of that was fake. Not for me. Not ever. But what about her? Had she been smiling at Carter in her mind while I rocked our son to sleep? Had she whispered another man's name when she kissed Aiden goodnight? The questions clawed at me, each one sharper than the last. I stood up, pacing the living room like a caged animal. Everywhere I looked, there were ghosts. Her perfume lingering in the curtains. Her favorite mug sitting in the sink. Her damn hair tie still looped around the bathroom doorknob. I wanted to burn it all. I wanted to erase every piece of her from my life. Instead, I grabbed a trash bag and started ripping the memories down one by one. The photos. The cards. The notes she left on the fridge. All of it. Into the bag. Into the black hole where she belonged. By the time I was done, sweat clung to my skin and my heart felt like it had been wrung out dry. I collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by the wreckage. There was no going back. No fixing this. The marriage was dead. The love was a lie. And I was just a man buried under the ruins of everything he thought was real. But somewhere under the grief, under the heartbreak, something else stirred. A spark. Small. Weak. But alive. I wasn't dead. Not yet. And if Brittany thought she had broken me for good, she was about to learn something she should have known from the beginning. You don't bury a man like me. You just piss him off enough to dig himself out and come back stronger. I didn't sleep that night. Again. But this time, it wasn't grief keeping me awake. It was clarity. For the first time in months, maybe years, I saw things for exactly what they were. No rose-colored glasses. No excuses. Brittany wasn't a mistake. She was a choice. A series of selfish, brutal choices she made over and over again, without a second thought for the man breaking under the weight of her lies. And now, it was my turn to make some choices of my own. I poured a cup of coffee, strong enough to peel paint, and sat down at the kitchen table with a notepad. A real one. No screens. No distractions. I made 2 columns, what she took and what she couldn't touch. Under what she took, I wrote trust, marriage, family. Under what she couldn't touch, I wrote my son, my name, my soul. And then I wrote the last line in big, angry letters. My future. She didn't get that. Not even close. By noon, I had a plan. First step, Aiden. I called my lawyer, an old friend named Derek Cole, who owed me a favor from years back when I covered for him during a rough divorce. He answered on the second ring. Jesus, Nathan, you sound like hell. Save the sympathy, I said. I need to bury someone legally. Fast. Derek didn't even ask questions. He just said, come by my office. Bring everything you've got. I packed up the list, the video evidence, and the financial records Brittany thought she hid so well. Second step, money. I canceled all joint accounts. Moved every asset I could into protected trusts. Anything with her name on it froze faster than a pond in winter. By the time Brittany realized it, she wouldn't even have enough money left to buy a Happy Meal. Third step, reputation. I didn't want to play dirty. I wasn't built like her. But she left me no choice. The package to Carter's wife had already done some damage. Now, it was time to finish the job. I gathered every piece of evidence of Brittany's affairs with multiple coworkers and anonymously leaked it to Human Resources. I knew exactly how the company operated zero tolerance for moral misconduct clauses. It wouldn't just cost her job. It would cost Carter his too. And anyone dumb enough to cover for them. I wasn't just cutting out the infection. I was burning the whole disease down. Fourth step, custody. I filed for full custody of Aiden that same day, citing endangerment, instability, and moral misconduct. Every photo, every message, every disgusting secret she thought she buried, now it was ammunition. Derek promised me it would be ugly. I told him to make it uglier. By 5 p.m., my apartment was stripped of every trace of Brittany. Her clothes dumped on the porch. Her wedding ring dropped in a glass of cheap whiskey she loved so much. She could come get them if she dared. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, sipping a beer and staring out into the darkness. It wasn't victory yet, but it was the start of something better, something real. Brittany thought she'd reduced me to ashes. She didn't understand that some men are meant to burn. Not to die, but to be reborn into something sharper, something she would never be able to touch again. I thought about her face when she realized what I'd done, when the bank calls came, when the HR letters arrived, when the custody papers landed on her doorstep like a bomb. I hoped she cried. I hoped she screamed. I hoped, for once, she felt even a fraction of the helplessness she shoved down my throat for years. But even if she didn't, even if she kept lying, kept smiling, kept pretending she was the victim, it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't doing this for revenge. Not really. I was doing it to remind myself who I was before Brittany tried to break me. A man. A father. A storm. The man she didn't see coming. And I was just getting started. The first crack in Brittany's perfect little world came 2 days later. I was sitting at a coffee shop across the street from her office, the same office where she used to parade around like some untouchable queen, sipping my drink when I saw it happen. Security guards flanking her on both sides. A man from HR clutching a folder so thick it looked like it could break ribs. And Brittany. Brittany in her power suit, sunglasses shoved up into her hair, lips twisted into a desperate, ugly sneer. She was shouting, pointing, begging, but no one listened. They marched her out like garbage. People in the lobby pretended not to stare, but I saw it. The smirks, the whispers, the phone snapping quiet pictures to be sent to group chats later. I almost pitied her. Almost. Instead, I leaned back in my chair, took a slow sip of coffee, and smiled. That night, the real storm hit. Aiden stayed with me. He was confused, hurt, asking 1,000 questions I didn't know how to answer yet. Where's Mommy? Why is everyone mad at Mommy? Did Mommy do something bad? I tucked him into bed, kissed his forehead, and promised him one thing. No matter what happens, kiddo, I'm not going anywhere. His little hand squeezed mine like he was anchoring himself to me. Later, when the house was silent again, I sat by the window and watched the streetlights buzz in the mist. My phone buzzed on the table. It wasn't Aiden. It wasn't Derek. It was Brittany. A string of missed calls. Then texts. Please talk to me. You don't understand. They're lying about me. Nathan, answer the F***ing phone. Asterisk asterisk. Each one more desperate than the last. It would have been easy to block her. Easy to ignore it. But I didn't. I wanted to hear it. I needed to hear how far she'd fallen. I answered on the 7th call. Her voice cracked through the line immediately. Tears. Snot. Desperation dripping like venom. Nathan, please, she sobbed. They fired me. They're suing me. Carter's wife filed charges. I have nothing. I stayed silent. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispered, voice breaking. You have to help me. The audacity. After everything she stole. After every knife she buried in my back. She still thought she could crawl back into my life and wrap herself in my warmth. I'm not your shield anymore, I said, voice flat. Save your breath. But Aiden, she tried. You lost the right to use his name the moment you chose bathroom stalls and betrayal over your own family. Her sobbing grew louder, sloppier. It didn't move me. It sickened me. I'll make you pay, she hissed when she realized begging wouldn't work. The true Brittany emerging, the one without the pretty smile and the fake kindness. You already did, I said coldly. Now it's my turn. I hung up. No goodbye. No second chances. Just silence. The next morning, my lawyer called. The custody hearing was set. With the evidence in my hands, Brittany's employment record torched, her financial fraud exposed, her moral character shredded, it was practically guaranteed. Aiden would stay with me. She could fight. She could scream. She could lie until her voice broke. But she wasn't getting him back. Not now. Not ever. That day, I picked Aiden up from school. He ran into my arms, backpack swinging, laughter bubbling up like sunshine after a hurricane. Dad, are we gonna be okay? He asked, eyes wide, vulnerable. I lifted him up, holding him tight enough to chase every ghost away. Yeah, buddy, I said. We're gonna be better than okay. I wasn't the same man who sat quietly at his desk while his boss bragged about soiling his wife. I wasn't the same fool who signed divorce papers because someone threatened him. I was something stronger now. Something harder. And Brittany. She could choke on the ruins she built for herself. I tucked Aiden into the car, buckled him in, and drove toward a future where her name didn't poison the air anymore. It wasn't over yet. But the battle was mine now. And soon, there'd be nothing left of Brittany's kingdom but dust. Brittany didn't go quietly. She fought like a trapped animal, clawing at every wall as it caved in around her. Within a week of losing her job, the lawsuits started piling up. Harassment charges from Carter's wife. Defamation suits from coworkers she lied about to cover her tracks. Financial fraud investigations when the company dug into expense reports she thought no one would ever notice. She tried to spin it. Tried to paint herself as the victim. Tears. Screaming matches in parking lots. Posts on social media about toxic workplaces and betrayals from people she trusted. But nobody bought it. Not anymore. The world she built on manipulation and seduction crumbled beneath her stilettos, and for once, no one was rushing to catch her fall. The final blow came during the custody hearing. Courtroom, beige walls, cold air that smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. Brittany showed up in a tight black dress like she thought she was walking into a modeling gig instead of a legal slaughterhouse. Her new lawyer, a twitchy guy who probably Googled how to win custody cases the night before, shuffled papers nervously. I sat across from her, calm, collected. Behind me, Derek. Beside me, folders packed with evidence. In front of me, Aiden's future. The judge was a no-nonsense woman named Judge Ramirez, who looked like she'd seen every lie a desperate ex could throw at her, and had zero patience for it. Brittany tried. Oh, she tried. Cried about how much she loved her son. Blamed stress and bad influences for her mistakes. Painted herself as a mother just trying to survive. Then Derek dropped the hammer. The video footage. The financial records. The photos. The witness statements. The courtroom buzzed as each piece of Brittany's mask was ripped away, revealing the rotten core underneath. Judge Ramirez didn't even need to deliberate long. Full custody to me. Supervised visitation for Brittany if she completed court-ordered therapy and parenting classes. I didn't smile. Didn't pump my fist. I just nodded. Quiet. Steady. While Brittany collapsed into her chair, mascara running like war paint, sobbing loud enough to echo through the hallways. Outside the courthouse, she tried one last time. You're ruining my life, she shrieked, heels clicking wildly as she chased after me. Everything was fine until you turned Aiden against me. I turned slowly, setting my gaze on her like I was looking at something already dead. You ruined your own life, Brittany, I said, voice calm as a tomb. You just didn't think anyone would hold you accountable. She opened her mouth to scream something else, but I didn't stay to hear it. I took Aiden's hand and walked away. Did it fix everything? No. The scars she left would take time to heal. The nights would still get lonely. The trust would still come slow. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't carrying her weight anymore. I wasn't dragging her lies behind me like a coffin tied to my ankles. I was free. Free to rebuild. Free to be a father without the shadow of betrayal poisoning every smile, every laugh, every hug. And Brittany? She was left with exactly what she gave to the people who loved her. Nothing. The last I heard, she was couch-hopping between old friends who wouldn't return her calls after they realized the kind of parasite they had invited into their homes. Her name was a punchline at her old office. Her new job was slinging overpriced drinks at some second-rate bar downtown, wearing too much makeup and too little dignity. She'd become everything she thought she was too good for. And me? I tucked Aiden into bed every night with a clear conscience. I built something stronger out of the ruins she left behind. And every time the past tried to claw its way back, I reminded myself. Some people aren't worth saving. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some betrayals aren't mistakes. They're the clearest truths you'll ever be lucky enough to see. Some wounds never close. They don't bleed anymore, but they stay raw underneath the skin, ready to throb when the weather changes or when an old song drifts in from somewhere you weren't expecting. Brittany became one of those wounds. Not because I missed her. God, no. But because she taught me the most brutal lesson a man can learn. Love without respect isn't love at all. It's a slow death. It took months to clean the wreckage she left behind. Not just the physical things, the legal battles, the financial shrapnel, the custody mess, but the invisible pieces too. Learning how to trust myself again. Learning how to believe in my own worth after years of being gaslit and fed crumbs. There were days I didn't think I could do it. Nights I sat awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd ever feel normal again. But every morning, Aiden's voice would pull me back. Every "good morning, Dad." Every hug that nearly knocked me over. Every laugh that didn't have an ounce of sadness in it. He saved me, even when he didn't know it. One evening, about 6 months after the final court ruling, I stood in the bathroom shaving, the same bathroom where I once punched the mirror in rage. The new mirror reflected a man I barely recognized. The dead-eyed ghost was gone. The hunched shoulders, the defeated posture, all of it burned away. In its place stood someone sharper, wiser, harder. Someone who survived. I wiped the steam from the glass and leaned closer, studying the man staring back. "You made it," I said under my breath. Not because the war was over. Not because life would suddenly be easy. But because I fought, really fought, for myself and for my son. And I didn't break. Brittany's betrayal could have shattered me. Could have turned me into something bitter and ugly. Instead, it turned me into something better. Someone who wouldn't settle again. Someone who would never mistake attention for love or chaos for passion. If I could go back and erase her from my life, would I? Honestly? No. Because without Brittany, I might never have learned what real strength looked like. I would have stayed blind, complacent, trusting the wrong people because it was easier than facing the truth. Pain has a way of stripping everything away until all that's left is the core of who you really are. And my core was solid, unbreakable. A few months later, I started dating again. Slowly, carefully. Not because I needed someone to fill the empty space, but because I wanted to share the life I rebuilt with someone who actually deserved it. Someone who saw me, all of me, and didn't try to use my heart as a doormat. The first time I introduced Aiden to her, he looked up at me with wide eyes and whispered, "She's nice, Dad. She smiles with her eyes." And in that moment, I realized something important. It wasn't just about surviving Brittany. It was about showing my son what real love looks like. Respect, kindness, loyalty. Not fake promises whispered in dirty bathrooms. Real love. Real life. If there's anything I could tell the man I used to be, the one sitting silently at his desk while his boss laughed about defiling his wife, it would be this. You're stronger than you think. You're worth more than you know. And the worst day of your life will become the reason you finally start living. As for Brittany, I don't hate her anymore. I don't even think about her, not really. She's just a cautionary tale now. A ghost story I tell myself when the nights get too quiet and I start to forget what I fought so hard to build. She wanted to destroy me. She failed. In the end, she destroyed herself. And me? I just kept walking past the ashes, past the lies, into a life she could never touch. A real life. A better one. And this time, it was mine.